What is going on, community? What is going on, people of Earth? I am TJ, aka Flash by Night, and I'd like to welcome you back to my series on MacKay's Moon Knight. Today we're going to dig into issue number 3, which is one of my favorite early issues in the run because it is, for the most part, a good old JR slobber knocker. And if you don't know who JR or what a slobber knocker is, what are you doing with your life, bro? So we start the issue with Mark talking to Dr. Sturman, which is a trend that I like. I think I pointed it out in the first video, but he's talking to her about the fact that he thinks he has enemies. Not just any enemy, an enemy watching him from the shadows that's kind of stalking him. He's been feeling the mysterious person we've been talking about for the last 2 issues. When Dr. Sturman asked him why he sounds so surprised, because she would think he has plenty of enemies, he tells Dr. Sturman, and we're going to hear this later on, that in a more interesting time, most of his enemies didn't survive his attention. And before the conversation is over, Dr. Sturman asks Mark if he thinks she is the enemy, and Mark says that he feels he may be, which is also an interesting nugget to hold on to for the next episode. Later on that night, he has a talk with a little more than hostile Reese about an encounter that she and her other new vampire brothers and sisters had that night. She basically wants to know why Moon Knight saved them on that fateful night a couple of issues ago, and if he's going back on his word, because someone with some moon crescent darts, like Moon Knight, attacked them, and while they survived, they did leave a scar. And she wants to know if Moon Knight was the one who did it. And of course, we know Moon Knight wasn't the one who did it, but he immediately switches gears, hits the street, and he is going to find the person responsible. It just might get interesting. And from then on, it is pretty much the slobber knocker that I said they deliver. The person we'd come to know as Hunter's Moon gets a shot in on Mark. As Mark's getting up, he tells Mark that he is Hunter's Moon, the Fist of Khonshu. Mark disputes it because he is the Fist of Khonshu, and Hunter's Moon gets philosophical. He tells Mark that men have 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 fists. And if men have 2 fists, why wouldn't a god have 2 fists himself? And while the fight continues on, Moon Knight asks Hunter's Moon if he was the person that sent Holly to break him, and Hunter's Moon, also known as Dr. Bader, tells Moon Knight no. A, he doesn't work through proxies, and B, he's a doctor. He doesn't break things, he fixes things. And right now, Moon Knight is something that needs to be fixed. Moon Knight also takes the opportunity to ask him about the crescent darts found in the vampires, and Hunter's Moon fesses up to that. And there's a reason why Hunter's Moon admits to attacking the vampires. According to Hunter's Moon, when vampires first appeared, they stalked humans at night, Khonshu's night, and they are pretty much the sworn enemy of Khonshu and of the Fist of Khonshu. And Moon Knight having them under his protection is because he's weak. Hunter's Moon also talks down to Mark about his fighting style, as if Mark wasn't good enough or hadn't earned the right to be a Fist of Khonshu. And apparently there are skills and gifts that Khonshu should give all of his fists, but Mark didn't get. And all of this culminates in Hunter's Moon winning round 1 and going on to try and finish what he started with the vampires. And what does he want with the vampires? He wants to get rid of them because, again, they are making Moon Knight soft. But then Moon Knight comes with my favorite panel, maybe of this entire run. If you are slightly familiar with Moon Knight, you know that some people call him Marvel's Batman. And while Moon Knight isn't Batman, in this panel, he has a Batman. And let's just say the Bat gives Moon Knight the upper hand as he's talking to Hunter's Moon and reminding Hunter's Moon that while Khonshu didn't grant Mark some memories, some gift passed from fist to fist, Mark has earned being the Fist of Khonshu through blood, through beatings, through sweat. through tears, and even through death. And at the end of the day, Hunter's Moon is just a doctor dancing in borrowed shoes. How hard is that? And with that, Mark lets Hunter's Moon leave, but warns him if he's gonna come back, he better figure out a way to kill Mark and kill Mark for good. Because if not, they will never find the pieces. Icing on the cake, he tells Hunter's Moon to drag himself away from his temple and avoid my attention, lest I become more interested. And that was Moon Knight number 3. Action from end to end, a couple of hints at the future, and maybe some retconning for both Moon Knight and Khonshu. If you couldn't tell, I really enjoyed this issue. I'm glad we're doing this rereading so I can read this issue again and share it with you. But coming up in issue number 4, we get a visit from an old friend and we peel back the onion layers on the man they call Moon Knight. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you saw something you liked. If you did enjoy yourself, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to keep up with me, keeping up with Moon Knight, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Of course, feel free to leave comments. And as we always do at this time, love yourself, love others, and I will be back in a flash.